Welcome to Grown Man Bars.
Might be the single most important beat in hip hop.
And Cube had a lot of things built up from the time that he had served with them. BA, this one was yours, man. Let me hear why you chose that.
Yes, we know that. But he turned a lot of people off. What? I mean, I did get my money back, so there's that.
You are now inside Uncle Willie's barbershop, riding with Grown Man Bars, the best hip-hop show in America, where short white guys won the dunk contest, the Eagles won another Super Bowl, and Drake had the most sales in rap last year without dropping an album. I don't know, y'all. While you're here, go ahead and pretend that you're hosting Jaguar Wrights podcast, and the subscribe button is Jay-Z, and go all the way in on it. We are also now on audio podcasts, so everywhere you get your podcasts, go check those out. If you don't like looking at my face, go ahead and rate, review, and subscribe in that location. I'm your man, Chad, a.k.a. Can't Get Right, and with me, as always, is a man so gangster that he's the reason we don't know where Waldo is. B.A., what's buzzing, cousin?
Why? What up? What's good, family?
We are gathered here this evening to talk about the year 2000 and the rap albums that came out that year, and eventually we're going to decide which one we think was the best one of the year. Let me give you the list, because I just love reading this off. The list of albums that came out in 2000. We Are the Streets, Supreme Clientele, Let's Get Free, Book of Thugs, Digging in the Crates, The Truth, The Baddest Bitch, War and Peace Volume 2, Like Water for Chocolate, Yeah Baby, The Marshall Mathers LP, Middle Finger U, Quality Control, Fantastic Volume 2, Anarchy, Eric Onassis, 2000 BC, Country Grammar, The Notorious K.I.M., Best Kept Secret, SDE or Sports, Drugs, and Entertainment, The World Ain't Enough, Let's Get Ready, Shine, Jazzmatazz Volume 3, Last of a Dying Breed, Rule 336, Back for the First Time, The Dynasty, Rock La Familia, HNIC, The Reunion, Restless, Lights Out, and finally, now that I'm out of breath, The Last Meal. That is a very long list of very good albums for the most part. I threw some in there because of the names, but we're going to pick out a few of them, talk about them, and then when we get to the end, we are going to try somehow to figure out which one we thought was the best one for that year. B.A., I will let you go first, sir. What is the first album in 2000 that you would like to speak a few words on?
Let's just address the elephant in the room, first and foremost. We understand the direction his career went into. We understand that his mouth wrote a check his ass couldn't cash. We understand these things. But in 2000, Rule 336, my friends, Ja Rule had established himself as one of them ones in 2000. This dude was on everything. MTV, VH1. This dude was on everything, bro. And that song with Christina Milian, Between Me and You, was a banger. And a lot of you can lock, because y'all will. You know what I'm saying? Y'all will. I ain't really get out with that. You lying. Because when 336 dropped, bro, Ja, one of the biggest dudes out. And if you say you didn't listen to him then, if you look at the man in the mirror, you might not listen to him now. You might not acknowledge that you even listened to him then. But then, 336, you know what it was.
Definitely, man. I never argue. I mean, it's not one of the things that I'm proud to say, but I listened to Ja Rule music when Ja Rule was in his height. Now, he quickly got old to me because he got really saturated. Like, he super saturated the market. Like you said, he was on everything. So
He was on
it got old to me, and it was very formulaic. It was usually the same kind of song that he was on. I kind of turned it off, but my man had a run, and there is really no way to deny that. So
Try
yeah,
as you may.
I'm gonna come out of the gates just hot. The first one
Okay,
for
what you
me,
got? What you
the
got? What you got?
the first one that I thought about that I just wanted to talk about was We Are the Streets, the Locks.
Oh,
I mean, this was our first and I hate doing this, but it almost always happens with every group. I was gonna say this is our first intro. Jadakiss that Jadakiss wanted to be.
What do you mean? Trying to, if you think I'm jiggy, you trying to say that one this, that one? What?
I'm trying to say that Jada was like, I can't get jiggy with this. Jada could not get jiggy with it. He did not. That was so yeah, I mean, we all know he was with Diddy, man, but We Are the Streets was just, you know what I'm saying? It was just them unleashed, and having them unleashed was just so beautiful, man, because it was they went with, I mean, they had a very New York style, but I like the rhyme schemes that they played with early on because they did a lot of that where it would be kind of what I call an uneven rhyme scheme, like they would leave a
Yeah,
bar off. And I like that style. But another thing about them was just how well they worked together. Out of 3 guys, they worked really well together, especially
indeed.
especially when Kiss and Styles would go, like, bar for bar in a verse.
Magic, magic.
Yeah, it was clear that they really got along, that they liked each other. You never heard about beef with them, very little disagreement with them. That was just a raw, just, "We Are the Streets." That was one of them good ones.
I mean, was it a better introduction to the Locks than the first single off that joint, Wild Out? Like it was anything. Boom, Wild Out. I mean, you like this dudes is out here, right? It was so far from removed from what they were doing with Diddy anyway.
They
I
had a
felt
song
like it was
called "F You."
yeah, that was personal. That was personal. But you know what I'm saying? As they left Bad Boy when they went to Rough Rider, like was there another to me, it was almost like the entrance exam to say we Rough Rider. Like, Wild Out was like that entrance exam to be like, boom, we passed, we good, we got give us our jackets, give us our stuff, we here. Nah, man, I'm with you, man. We Are the Streets was dope as hell, for sure.
Yeah, for real, man. What else you got in your 2000s bag?
Okay, first and foremost, you know me, I like the underdog, and I be sick and tired of the industry sleeping on my man. First of all, one of them ones with the rhyme schemes. He's also one of those artists whose voice is so unique, you know, the moment he puts it down that it's him. But because he took a little sabbatical from music a little bit, hooked up with MTV and started pimping people's rides, folks forgot that he was an MC. No better album in 2000, no better album than Restless with X to the Z. And when I'm saying this, I'm saying, first of all, the song was dope. But the joint he did was Slim. Don't Approach Me. This was masterful MCing. We always talk about how difficult it is for some artists to do a song with Eminem because you know the rule. You know what you're getting into, especially if he's excited to do the song with you. And as Aftermath was coming together and Xzibit was finding his place on Aftermath as well, they called in the hitters to make sure that this album really grew legs and put some movement on it. And him and Slim, man, Don't Approach Me. I challenge you. And y'all know when I say the words, I challenge you. Right? I challenge you, go back and listen to Don't Approach Me, both verses, and I guarantee you, you won't stay Slim swallowed up Xzibit on that track. Guarantee.
I think one of the things I liked about Exhibit, especially around this time, was with this album, was that Dre said that he had worked with him on some other stuff, and he said what was unique about Exhibit was he said unlike any of these other rappers that were up and coming that I would bring in to work with me, Exhibit came in, laid his verse down, and left. He said he didn't try to he didn't try to hit me up for anything. He didn't try to make any contacts or anything like that. He just came in, did what he was supposed to do, and left. And he said, and I
I'm out.
respected that. So I asked him if I could produce his album. And to have Dr. Dre
Restless
ask
was
you if he
dope.
can produce your album,
What? Whoa,
right?
what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a good one. He definitely had passed my 4-song test on that album by far, because there were
I,
quite a few
I
bangers
mean,
on that one.
the bar for me on X was I beat the odds like I beat on his first wife. Like, oh, come on, man. Like, come on, man. Come on. Come on, bro. Like, stop playing. But that's what he gave you, man. What's up with you? You got another 2000 banger? What you got?
Yeah, this one is not gonna surprise anybody at all that I say Stankonia from Outkast was a banger in 2000. This was not my favorite Outkast album, but that is not saying anything at all. This album was so much fun because you had Gasoline, Bombs Over Baghdad, I'm Sorry, Miss Jackson, and then they had picked up another completely different sound. This was the fourth
Yep.
album in a row from them. They were trap music, then they were the space age sound, then they went to Aquemini, where they went to a more traditional sound. They were working with George Clinton and more orchestral sounds. And then on this one, they come back with, I don't even know what to call what they did on this album was. I think I read at one point that Andre said that sometimes they recorded some of their verses in the shower because he liked the way that sounded.
The sounded, yeah. I think they
Yeah,
did.
I don't even know what to call the sound that they had on Stankonia, but whatever it was, I loved it. And it was just the fourth time in a row that they punched you in the face. And that was what made it. So every 2 years they started, and then every 2 years they punched you in your face. But like
Easily.
clockwork. It was
Easily.
perfect.
Easily. You know, the unfair thing about Stank on You is really the unfair thing about Outkast albums. Outkast albums, and I know we have a show on this coming, but I would say this snippet. I believe Outkast catalog is the hardest to rank top to bottom. And here's why I say that. It might be easy to pick what your favorite is. It might even be easy to pick what your least favorite is. That 2 through whatever though, it literally has to change every time you hear a different song. Like no matter what album you hear it off of, that second, that album would, oh, that's it. It's this, then it's this. Cause that song was, now, okay, maybe it's this, then it's this. And Stank on You for me is my favorite Outkast album, but not by far. Edge It Out over ATLians only because it wouldn't step. Southern Playalistic, the grown-up version of that was Aquemini for me, right? ATLians, the grown-up version for that was Stank on You, right? And it was just like, I loved ATLians so much, and now they got skin in the game, right? And so they give you Stank on You, and the concept, Rosa Parks, Miss Jackson, like some of the songs, they've hit real life stuff and flipping it.
All right. So what you got in your bag?
You know, let's just stay at ATL.
All
I
right.
believe 2000 was the turning point where this individual got off the radio and left the lover in the studio and put on some headphones and became the Chris. But Back for the First Time is one of them albums where, and then you get a lot for ATL, those you just put it on and ride to or whatever. But to show you his cleverness from the type, he introduced himself like he had been here this whole time, so you have familiarity. And then he hits you with classic after classic after classic. Now, in comparison, and only in comparison to the upside, even though Illmatic is a hip hop classic, it took a lot of people to gravitate to some of the singles that came off of Illmatic, where Back for the First Time may never ever be listed in the top 25 greatest hip hop albums. But there are 3 songs that came off that album that got some weight, you know?
Yes,
Southern
sir.
Hospitality got some weight. What's Your Fantasy got some weight.
Stick
So,
them up.
Think 'em Up got some weight. Like I'm telling you, for this
Mouthing
to
off the
be,
freestyle. The
I did
freestyle.
love Mouthing Off. Yes, I did love that. I did love that. And I'm just saying, like, from the beats to his rhyme scheme, his cleverness, I compare Luda to a southern version of a young Red Man. Not as intricate with the rhyme scheme, but with the jokes and the punches and the metaphors.
And the big personality.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, again, Ludacris grew up with his audience. He grew up with his music. And you've seen that later in his career with the concepts to the videos, like when Chicken and Beer came out, like just on some other stuff, man. But Back for the First Time, man.
Being in South Carolina when that album dropped, I've talked about this on other shows, but because South Carolina was still just kind of getting its feet into what it wanted to do around that time, and because we're in rural areas to where things don't get to us as quickly, there was something about this sound that was so country that felt so much like, even in South Carolina, it felt so much like who all of us were. Like we were, at least for me, I can't speak to anybody else, but there are times when you hear an album from someone who's where you're from and you go, man, this is our sound. If you ask me to tell you what we sounded like, this is what I'd point to. And it's so weird to say it, me being from South Carolina, to say it about a dude from Atlanta, but that is just what I felt when it came out. I was like, this is our sound, my
Yeah.
area right here. This is what I want to say. This
Yeah.
is what we sound like. And I gotta say, stick 'em up. The verses that he had with Pimp and Bun, I mean, all three of them went so hard on that track. I don't know. I'm sure the A&R that he paid them for their features, but man, they gave them their money's worth because all three of those verses were insane, man. That's one of those tracks I've listened to 3, 4 times in a row.
And you know what's crazy about Stick 'em Up? Stick 'em Up was one of those things that you almost forgot it was a Ludacris song. Not because UGK outshined it. I felt like he really marinated in more of their style than his own on that joint. Right there, bar for bar, punch for punch. Like he was a good mix in between Pimp and Bun. Like his verse was a good mix and it flowed so well together with you, right?
Yeah, like he heard it.
I
Like he
even dare
heard it.
somebody to pick a favorite verse on that. I dare you.
What was that one? I got a ghetto aim with diamond bezeled rings, so while my index is working, my pinky's blinding things. Yes, sir. That
Oh,
was definitely back for the first time was definitely man, every time you start digging into these albums, they are better than you remember them being.
all the time, all the time.
Imma keep it while we there, Imma keep it South too,
Okay,
man. Somebody
okay,
that we
let's wobble.
yeah, that we don't talk about enough, that we always talk about offline, that we need to talk about more, and that's 8 Ball and MJG because they had Space Age Forever. We we never talk about 8 Bizall and MJ.
Fat man.
Yeah, man, his sound, we don't talk about Memphis enough either, but for we've talked about a lot of rappers here and called them royalty, and that's another one, man. 8 Ball in Tennessee, royalty and well deserved. I mean, well
Yeah.
deserved because of his catalog with MJG by himself. He has a very impressive catalog. He's been putting in work for a long time. That sound, man. Space Age pimping, Space Age forever, Pimp Hard, Collard
That's my
Greens.
them
Uh,
hard, baby.
anytime they put Pimp on a song, it's gonna be a good one.
It's a done deal. Yeah, it's a done deal.
But that was another
I
one,
mean,
man.
first
I don't think they ever got the credit they deserved on a national level. Like I said, they're royalty in their area, but I don't think and maybe they didn't want it. I know, we could do another show completely on them working with Diddy and how that worked out and how weird that was, but
it worked weirdly.
yeah, it was weird, but even at that time, I just quickly, like the first time I looked up the producers that with on the first album, I was like, Diddy's idea was to put them with producers who don't really work with Southern artists. And I didn't know if that was a great idea,
It was gonna work.
but either way, we don't talk enough about them. And Space Age Forever was a really good album, and it got
It
buried
was.
among that list I read at the front of the show. And we go back to it and we listen to it and we remember how great these songs are, but that one got lost. Space Age was another one that I just wanted to give a shout out to, man, because 8 Ball and MJG have been holding it down for a long time.
Memphis is the forgotten region. Yeah, you got 3-6, you got 8 Ball. I mean, Young Buck. Like we had some hitters come out there, and even some of the younger cats came out of there. It's Memphis music is such in a pocket. Like I compare Memphis music to like northern Louisiana, like Shreveport. It's such a pocket, and it's hard to get people outside of that pocket to appreciate the way it's appreciated inside the pocket. Right?
Yeah.
We stand in pockets. So I talked about maturation of MCs. That's very important to me, right? And this MC we heard early in his career when he was part of a movement. But his 2000 album to me it was a maturation because he wasn't really as affiliated. He wasn't really as affiliated with the movement as he used to be. None other than the jive artist himself. We talking about Let's Get Ready by Mystikal. Mystikal gave us something on this album I don't think that most of his fans were prepared for. He gave us radio cuts. Now, for some people, that may seem as a negative. Before the machine took over, getting airplay was important to a career. You could, I mean, you could make money doing rap. You could make money, but you needed white kids in Baldwin Hills to buy your CDs. You needed, you know what I'm saying? You needed black kids in the ghettos of Nebraska to buy your CDs. You needed other regions to take you seriously. You had to have radio and video plays. You had to get motion on the airwaves. You had to get in that top 10 where you were on that rotation of all the DJs from the 97.9s and the 104s across the country. And danger and Shake It Fast. I won't say the other part, but those two songs gave him that. They gave him that credit, you know, that he really needed to push his career to the next level. Now, again, like so many artists before and after him, sometimes life be life. You know, sometimes life be life. And
I don't
before
have
you
any
you
comment on any legal issues.
right. So before you come at me in the comments, just understand, I understand life be life. And we talking about his album 25 years ago.
Yes, let me make something very clear to everybody. This show completely separates the art from the artist.
Absolutely.